Here's another one, little cheat area right here. And again, you can start getting a little creative with these. I try to buy these if I can off the lows with a cheat area. If it doesn't form where I get that kind of pivot, then I'm waiting. And these are okay to buy going into new high ground. I mean, these are the ones that if there's any stock that you want to entertain breaking out of this base, going into new high ground is fine. It's not extended. As long as it's coming out of the base, it's fine. But I'm always trying to get in as early as I can, but still within the base. And a lot of times I'm just starting my position. So I'll take a little bit here. If I was short-term trading and I'm just looking to scalp something, well, then I'm going in with a really big position right off the hop. But if I'm looking to play something for a bigger move, I might, and I want to build a big position. I might start building into it, buy a little bit here. And then if it can hold up and it can build a handle, buy a little more coming out of there. Is that sort of your general, what's your approach usually? I know it changes, Mark, but is there any particular time where you're going to build versus just go right in and just jump in, plunging in big?
Yeah. Well, if it's a liquid power play, I'll generally try and put on the full position. And I actually, this is one where normally, if it's a bigger base, I wouldn't put on the whole position at a low cheat, but I've just found, sometimes you buy the low cheat and then maybe you get a handle or you get another cheat or a pullback buy. The best power plays, they might only give you one pivot and then they're gone. Right. So I'm much more apt to just try and put on the whole line or as much as I can, so long as that entry point is crisp.
Yeah, they're not very large bases, so there's not a lot of time. When you get into a big cup that's been building maybe in a bear market, you might get multiple little cheat area type buys, and is a lot more time frame. It moves slower of the base building process and the bottoming process. When you with these, they sometimes it's 7, 8, 10 days. Those are the really sometimes, like I said, they come out in those single digit number of days. We're generally getting in them 10, 12 days or more, but it's still a very short period of time. Even if it was going to be 20 days, it's a very short, relatively short period of time. So as Mark said, you may only get one pivot. That's why if it sets up, the low cheat, then I'm going in there with at least something. Let me show you a few more examples. And also, if you look here, 37% in 38 days. So that's maybe on the lower side, but there you go. There's that 1% a day. And here, 52% in 4 days. That's a really, that's an amazing one. that's like, 12% a day. So that's pretty amazing. That you don't see too often, but look at this buy point right here. I'm sorry. You were saying something, Mark?
No, I was just agreeing. That's extremely powerful.
Yeah. So, just straight up in 4 days. But again, look at how it comes out and the efficiency and just marching to its own drummer. And once it breaks out, look where all the excitement is. This is where it just goes on a tear. Okay, here's another one. Now, this is a pretty creative. This is almost like a bottom fish. If you're going to bottom fish, you want to look for that pivot. You can see there is a little pivot in here. I call these expert buys because when you start buying really near the low, especially, you should be real careful of doing this with a larger base, because see, a larger base, if you've got a very deep base or a large base, you've got a lot of supply. And like I said, they move slower, so they can whip around, they can undercut lows. When you're looking at something like a power play, you can I wouldn't try to pick the low, but you can try to get it turning up off the low if you get that low cheat. And it could be a very low cheat. It could be as much as just a day or two of pause and pivot of going inside, and then you can go in there and start buying it. And that's what I did here with Shutterfly, especially if it's one that is widely followed. If they're very widely followed, then I'm trying to get in lower in the base because they get obvious. They're already, if it's a well-known name, it's already obvious to begin with. Now the stock starts getting their new highs and it's taken time to build a base. Now everybody's seeing it and you start getting a lot of noise because you get a lot of short-term profit takers in there and you get the supply. So this is a power play from a low cheat. Again, so 40% in 8 weeks. I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker now. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is looking at the daily. I always look at the daily first, but I always consult the weekly. And with power plays, you always want to look at a weekly to really ascertain the quality of the setup by looking for tightness in the closes. So, and O'Neill has talked about this where he looks for 3 or 4 weeks tight. That's exactly what you're looking for. In a power play, you're looking for 3-4 weeks tight. So right here, if you take a look, you'll notice that 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, you see the closes are all almost around the same. They're almost identical as far as where they close. They all close right around $26. That's exactly what you want to see, that lack of volatility and those tight closes all throughout the week. That's the weekly, of course. And here's I'm going to go back to the daily here. And you can see the daily is very, very strong. Very tight here also. I bought this stock coming right out of here. And again, that 20 days, right? Given it that 20 or so days, 74% in 23 days. All right. Let me show you another one. This was Cardtronics. I remember this one really well. This is a while back. This is in 2009, but we were talking about an ID system in America, and they made these cards, and I think they got some contract. I forget where it was from, but they did get a contract, and they had these identification cards. I can't remember if you had your fingerprint on it or something, but they had some news going where they were getting some traction as far as I think maybe it was a foreign government just started using their cards. So this broke out, and again. In 1 year, in 12 months, it went up 100%. It doubled from there. Let's look at the weekly. See the weekly? Look at the closes. 1, 2, 3, 4. You get these last 3 weeks are almost perfectly tight. And even this whole 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 weeks, pretty tight closes. So again, that's constructive. That is very constructive. ADPT, another one. Look how tight it is, right? Nice and tight. Let's look at the weekly. See, tight closes. Nice tight closes, and then you break out from there. Let's take a look at another one. So in this situation, this is ANAB, Adaptasys Bio. Is that what it is? I don't know how to pronounce it. But this, it actually set up great over here. So some people will actually ask me, I've shown charts like this, and I say, I was buying it here. And they say, why don't you buy it here? Because here wasn't there yet. When you look at the chart, we see everything in hindsight, but you have to see here first. So all I saw was this. I saw the cheat setting up, and I don't know if this is just going to blast off from here. So I'm buying right here. It just went flat for a while. So I just stayed with it, and then it came out here. It actually improved, and this got really nice, and it had that one day it went inside and whammo right there. So that was a nice follow-up buy point. If you had bought it here, you could have added here. If you had not bought it here, you could have initiated your position here. Again, look at the efficiency. Look at the way this moves up. You see there's almost no volatility. You've got, when you even talk about natural reactions, there's almost not even a reaction. It's just straight up, and it makes its move 96% in 4 months. And if we look at the closes, look how tight the closes are. We got 1, 2, 3, almost perfectly tight. And then the next week, as we start to move up a little bit, but really nice tight closes. Another one here. This is where I first started buying AMD, Advanced Micro. And this was a while ago. This was all the way back in 2016. It set up a power play, 190% in 18 months. Perfect little power play right here. And again, this one, I think AMD at the time might have been $5. I remember it wasn't in a lot of trouble for a while. And
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Now with this stock, you can see the 150 is above the 200. The 50 is above the 150 and the 200, and they're all in an uptrend. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4 months, almost 5 months. This is in a confirmed stage 2 uptrend. So remember what I was saying before, that some of them will be in a confirmed stage 2 uptrend, but some of them will move from a period of dormancy, and they will move up so fast that it won't get a chance for the moving averages to move up. So you might find these, if you're using my template screens in MarketSmith and you're using the 5 month, this might have come up on there. But the shorter ones you'll find using the 1 month. Again, let's go to the weekly. Nice tight closes. You got 3 weeks, nice and tight right there, right before the breakout. So this is all very constructive. So we're gonna wrap this up here, but I want to show you something. This was a stock that, and there's a few things I want to show you about this. First of all, when you see this setup here, it's kind of small and you probably can't calculate it, but this is about a 35% pullback here, which was excessive. However, it was only for, and I don't know, do I have the other chart? Let's see. Yeah, I'll zoom up on it in a second. I just want to show you, we're coming off of the correction here in the market, and this stock blast off, and it has a 35% pullback, which would usually negate it as a valid power play because the correction is too much. Like we said before, that the fact that it doesn't correct much is showing its metal. It's showing that it's holding up. But that pullback was for one day, and it came back the very next day, and it came right back and tightened up. So I gave it a little bit of, I cut it a little bit of slack. Like I said, if you're going to give anything the benefit of the doubt, you want to try to give the power plays maybe the benefit of the doubt if they set up. So this stock, blasted off out of here, went up 160% in just 17 days. Once again, that 20-day window or so, within that 20-day window, look what can happen, 160%. Now, what I want you to see is look at this stock here. This is in 2013. Look at these two weeklies, all right? It looks like it could be the exact same stock, right? This went up 68% in 3 days. But look at the setup. You get the one bar here down, closes up at the highs, 2 bars here, it tightens up, 3 weeks tight. I mean, almost identical. And that's the thing. These patterns repeat over and over. And the question that I always get, and we've talked about this before, but is, well, if it's so repeatable, if it's so identifiable, and you're teaching everybody, well, how come everybody doesn't do this? Well, why doesn't it stop working? Wouldn't if everybody did it, wouldn't it not work anymore? So there's a couple conversations that we should have with that in mind. Number one is let's just say that, yeah, I mean, everybody does it and it doesn't work anymore. They'll stop doing it. Everybody will stop doing it because it doesn't work, and then it'll start working again. So it does ebb and flow. There's going to be periods of time where this is going to be challenging and some of these won't work. And that's just part of it. It's just, you're not going to win all the time. So it doesn't mean that every time you see a power play that it's going to work. There's going to be periods where you have difficult periods. There's going to be periods where, half of them work, half of them don't. You manage the risk properly and you capture the upside and you make a ton of money being 50% correct. So the other thing is, and this, Mark, is where I think, maybe you should chime in, is that, how many people do you think really have the discipline to do this? And as I said before, everybody knows how to, lose weight. You exercise, you change your diet. Well, why is it so hard for so many people? Why isn't everybody physically fit and perfectly fit? Because it takes discipline, takes commitment. Remember before I just said you got to have that confidence. You have to have the confidence to pull the trigger, confidence to trade those large size. That comes with experience. That comes with time. That comes with going through a lot of trial and error. And there's very few people that will commit to something, even things that show them promise right off the hop. Most people won't stick with it. They're not that disciplined. But if you then make it challenging, like how challenging stock trading is, and believe me, this is, this all looks really straightforward and maybe simple in hindsight right here. And, we trade these in real time, but it's going to be a lot more difficult in real time, like I said before. Mark, again, what do you say to, why isn't everybody doing this? I mean, and if it works so well, these are the words from skeptics sometimes, oh, it can't work because, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be rich.
Well, I think this is a really good chart for it too. I mean, look at the size of the volume on those breakouts. That's not even, 100 retail guys buying it. That's huge institutional firepower that's breaking these out.
Right.
And to your point though, too, when you're doing this in real time, especially when you're starting out and you're buying stocks that look to most people's eyes extended, and you don't have that confidence, that experience, you're going to make plenty of mistakes as well. You're going to misidentify a lot of things. You're not going to be patient and wait for those good, low risk entries. You won't have, the experience yet or the confidence, in how this works. But like, you talk about in your first book, these patterns this is the effect of
not the cause.
Yes. And when, it's like you should reread that section a couple times and hammer that into your head too. This isn't magic. The chart isn't some type of voodoo thing that then causes people to do things.
The chart's not making it happen. It's happening because of people's decisions and because supply and demand and fear and greed. This is the effect of a greater cause. So it's not like, if everybody sees this, this isn't causing it. This is the effect. And there's very few people that can pull themselves out of that pool and then look at the crowd objectively and not be in the crowd. It's not an easy thing to do. I've often said when you learn, you have to learn to have abnormal behavior, what would normally feel normal to you, you have to do just the opposite. It's all counterintuitive. And when you can develop an axiomatic or automatic responses that are abnormal, or I should say, not human, your normal human response, you become superhuman, because now you are able to take advantage of, and this is something that O'Neill said many years ago. I heard him when I met him decades ago. He said, when you're doing nothing, the undisciplined, the people that are amateurs, the bottom fishers, they're laying the groundwork for your success. And that was such a valuable sentence. I thought about that over and over for years. I finally realized what that meant. That again, you've got to pull yourself out of that crowd, and then you're able to take advantage of that crowd and time these purchases. So anyway, we're getting a little deep here, but again, I think I interrupted you too, Mark. I don't know if you had anything more to add.
No, I mean, I think you nailed it. The idea of also just waiting for those right setups, not feeling like you have to trade or to shoot at lower quality stuff. And that takes time and consistent application of discipline.
Yeah. And one last thing, when I said this before about when I used to have traders when I was in New York, and I trained traders to work for me. And if you remember, I talked about how I would limit them to just, one setup and a very narrow set of parameters, relative strength and so forth. The power plays were really a great place to start. If you really want to test your discipline, trade only power plays, because you might not find some for a year. Like, it can go a long period of time where you don't find any, and they're far few in between, and they're the hardest to identify correctly. But it's a great exercise for discipline, and you also narrow it down to the absolute best area of the market, the most profitable area of the market, or even maybe you narrow it down to stocks that have only been public for X amount of time, to try to get on the magnitude plays and power plays. However you do it, to narrow down your focus. If you're just starting out, we're showing you so much, over all these days. You're getting so much, every time someone comes to the Master Trader program, certainly live, later on, I'd get a chance to speak with everybody, and we'd spend time together, and everybody always would have comments, and it was always along the lines as, one person say, this is like drinking from a fire hose, or my head's about to explode. I feel like my head's, blown up like a balloon. All these comments were the same thing, where they're getting so much information, because we're giving you everything. I'm giving you it all. And the thing is, though, you may have to narrow it down, and you may have to start a little more focused than to go and try to do all of this and do everything in every way, shape, and form. All right. So any last words, Mark?
No, I mean, this is even looking at some of these old trades, that some of these are 20, 25 years old. This stuff is timeless.
It is timeless.
These patterns are going to be around long after we're gone, and they were happening long before we were doing this.
Yes, they were. And just to give you real quick, when I went back and I read like Jesse Livermore books and even Nicholas Darvis and some of these famous books, I had my first little office was in Connecticut. I had this little couple 100-square-foot office and had a few guys in there working with me, and with some really crude microfiche machines and stuff. And we went back and we'd get the Barron's and the Wall Street Journal and everything, and and rebuild charts. We'd go back and look at what Jesse Livermore bought and what Nicholas Darvis bought, and we'd go and replot the charts because we couldn't get those charts. And it was amazing because the charts were identical. They were just completely identical that I was seeing in a modern time frame, that I was seeing in the 1990s. So I'm seeing these charts and I'm going back. I'm like, look at this. E.L. Bruce was the exact same setup. Looking at a stock in 1903, and it's setting up exactly like a stock that I'm seeing in 1995. So really, really something else. And again, everything from the beginning to the end of this whole workshop is timeless. Everything is timeless. This is always going to be this way. It's always going to work. If it's not working for you, the market maybe is not good at the time. It's in a correction, or you're just not skillful at it yet. Now, stick with it. This is going to keep working forever. All right. So we're going to wrap it up, and we'll take a break here. Okay. And we'll see you when we come back.